Guys, it's snowing and it's so pretty. Hi friends, I know I don't have the book with me right now. It's in Toronto, so just pretend I have the book with me. I actually originally had this book a couple months after it came out. I bought it and I tried to read it then. I couldn't get through it. A couple months after, I tried to read it again and I got like a quarter way through, but I still couldn't get through the whole book. So this time I was like, I have to read the whole thing. I've had this book for forever. I even have the second one. I'm just gonna get through it. Back when I bought the book, I was really into fantasy. Because of high school and university, I've been read for a while, and now that I picked up reading again, I realized I'm not really into fantasy anymore, so the book was kind of not really my vibe. The world building, in my opinion, took a little bit too long. It felt like the first quarter was enough. The second quarter felt a little bit unnecessary, because like I kind of already got the point of her being human and like everybody hating her because she's human, but she's like super resilient and she's like, I want to be a knight and like I want to be able to do things by myself. I already got that part. I heard somewhere that this book talked a little bit about political stuff, but I didn't really get that from reading the book. It had trying to overthrow power content, but it wasn't explored enough for me to be invested in it. I liked the part where she and the youngest prince would butt heads. I liked that part of the book. Loved the last quarter of the book, 4 out of 5. The first 2/3, I was just kind of like, this is so slow. I am not really interested. It was like a 2 out of 5. Hello, friends. I am on page 54 of The Cruel Prince. I've read 1/5 of the book, and so far nothing's really happened. Basically, we learn that the main character is a twin and they're both humans. Oh, my hair. But what happened is that their mom, who was human, fell in love with like a fae. He's like immoral, and they live in this different realm. And then they get brought over to this immoral world because their older sister, who was a product of their mom and the fae guy, he brought them back. The dad is responsible for them because his then wife had these children. And then we quickly learn that the main character is super, I don't want to describe her as like not like other girls, but she's just like tough and she stands up for herself and she goes against the rules. And then her twin's like kind of the opposite, where she's shy. She follows the rules. She's not looking for trouble. She's just like trying to keep a low profile. Basically, nobody likes them because they're humans. One of the king's sons, who's their age, always picks on them. I already forgot his name. I already know he's a love interest, but I am not interested in him at all. Like, I feel like he's so mean to her, especially after he put her and her sister in danger. They have classes together, so, and they're like the same age, although I don't really know how that works because he's immoral. Main character, the prince, are like always at the same events, so they go to the same school and they see each other at school, you know, stuff like that. He's like picking on her all the time for like being immoral, so there's just a lot of interaction. I don't know why he picks on her, except for the fact that it's like setting up this romance. I know he's like the love interest, but I just really don't like him. Like the way he talks to her, he's like so rude to her. It's like so mean to her, like verbally and physically abusing her and her sister. And I'm like, how can you ever like this dude who literally threatened, probably will drown you? Like, he didn't drown her, but like if given the chance, he probably would have drowned her. I just don't get it. Okay, now I get why everybody loves enemies to lovers. Because at first I was like, I don't like how this relationship is going. But then now that she's actually talking back to him and like not just putting her head down and like doing everything that he wants, I'm like, okay, the tension. Now I get it, why people want them together. I really like Loki, the fox guy that's like the princess friend, because he's like a bad guy, but he goes back and like helps the victim, you know? And maybe I just have a soft spot for people who help people. He's kind of cute too. But so far, I'm on page 76, so I'm kind of like a quarter way through the book. And what happened was that They visited back the human world, and you kind of figured out that because they were introduced to the fairy world so young, they prefer living in the fairy world, while the older sister, Vivi, who's actually a fairy, wants to go back and live in the human world because she grew up in the human world. And then main character goes and participates in this contest, I guess you could say. It's like a swordsman contest, kind of feels like Capture the Flag but like with swords. And then her team wins the last 2 rounds, because the first round she was like not really like trying her best, I guess, but then the last 2 rounds the prince really annoyed her, so she like went full fighting mode. She won, and then the prince is like, you have to beg for forgiveness, and then she's like, no, you can't make me do that, and I'm gonna bring you down. And I'm like, that's spicy. Okay, I am officially in love with Loki because he like kneels down and carefully wipes her face. And he's like focused on what he's doing. Men who focus on what they're doing and like being gentle, I can't. And then he's encouraging her to keep bothering the prince. Get it, queen, get it. Okay, I know that the prince is like the love interest, but like I love this guy. Around this time, the king is also stepping down from the throne. There's gonna be all of these big balls and stuff because the next king is gonna come up to the throne, to the crown or whatever it's called. She goes back to the first prince's house, palace, because she re-looked at the note and she realized that the note meant something else. It wasn't about the poison itself, but it was about the information of like where they got the poison or something like that, and like what they're gonna do with the information. So she's like, I have to go back to the room to find more information on the subject. So she goes back, and then she sees the human like slave. They're under the influence, so they don't have willpower over themselves. She goes back to the room and she doesn't find any evidence, and she's like, I came here for nothing. And then she decides to save the human girl. She gives the human girl salt and she becomes sober, I guess you can say it that way. But she's like super freaked out about it, of course, because she's been living like just dazed and like thinking that she's living the best life. Main character, her name's Jude. Jude takes this human girl out of the palace, sneaks her out. Jude asks her older sister, who like frequently visits the human world, to take this human back to the human world. The servant who was taken is like still freaking out. They try to calm her down by showing her the path to the human world, which is like this big sea. And eventually she calms down enough that she gets on like this mystical horse and they start flying over the sea. While they're flying over the sea, the human girl just lets go and falls into the sea. I was honestly so shook because before she got on the horse, she was collecting rocks, and I personally like to collect rocks too, so I thought she was calming down by collecting like pretty rocks along like the beach or whatever they were on. And I thought they were like these small like pebbles. But then when she fell off the horse, I realized that the rocks she was putting in her pockets might not be these tiny pebbles, but like bigger, heavier rocks, so that she sinks to the bottom of the ocean. And I was like, oh my gosh. No, poor girl. I know I've said I loved Loki. I hope that's how you say his name, or else I've been saying it wrong the whole time. But I know I've said I loved him from like the very beginning. Basically everyone in the fairy world can't lie. He's like saying that he likes her, but he can't lie, right? So he actually has to like her. But like the way that he likes her so much, like letting her borrow one of her dead mother's gowns for his party, and just like taking care of her and like standing up for her, it almost seems suspicious, like he has an ulterior motive. Okay, I said it right this time. It just becomes tricky because they can't lie, right? I don't know what is going on. And also maybe because I know some spoilers, and from those spoilers, if I interpret them correctly, she actually gets with the youngest prince, right? Or like one of the princes, and not Loki. So what happens? And I'm also more than halfway through the book. I hope I figure this out soon. Okay, so we just find out that shortly after she kills Valerian, she goes on this like other task with the other ones of the shadows, which are like the spies of the second prince, and they kill this messenger. After the messenger is like, removed from the streets, from being killed. They pickpocket his bag that he was carrying with the message. The message literally reads, "Killed the bearer of this message." And then she also thinks that the messenger was her father's spies, like one of her father's spies. And that just makes everything so much interesting, because is the messenger working for both the first prince and her dad, or is she mistaken? And like, why does she need to be killed? I'm literally reading while I'm playing TFT. I am shook. I don't remember where I left off, but basically what happened is that they went to like the royal palace. There's this big ball because the king is gonna, how do you even say, like, when another person becomes a king, so one of his sons is like Prince Dane is gonna become a king. And then while they're taking off the crown and like giving the crown to Prince Dane, a whole fight that breaks loose. Like the second prince is like, "I don't want you to become the king." And then there's this big fight where he like stabs his mom or his sister or something. I don't remember which one which one it is. I don't remember the names. But then after, the main character is like trying to get to Prince Dane to like try to protect him, and then her father comes up and she's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, my father would like never do anything wrong, and like he's in charge of all the guards, so he's gonna protect like the king, the future king." And then her father stabs Prince Dane. What? So like all the guards at the ball were like not doing anything because all the guards were her father's guards, and her father was a traitor. He was gonna attack them while they were like switching the crowns so that nobody has the magic from being a king or something. I don't remember. I don't know. Okay, but why did it take 3/4 to get here to something exciting that I'm actually invested in? I don't remember where I left off, but I have finished the book and I am shook. When she was interrogating the prince and then she just kissed him, I was like, I did not see that coming. Like, I liked the tension and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kiss, but like, I thought that as a joke. Like, she actually kissed him and I was like, bro, caught me off guard. They came up with this whole plan. They're not gonna crown the first prince, and then she like drugs her dad, and then whatever, they get the crown. And then this is like the part where I thought they were gonna crown her younger brother, because that's what she's been telling like all the other spies. She was like, "I'm gonna crown my younger brother even though he's a baby, and then like when he's grown up, we're gonna steal him to the human world, and he's gonna grow up and come back and then like rule this fairyland." The youngest prince was supposed to teach, like, show the baby brother how to kneel to accept the crown, so like he was kneeling as like demonstration. And then like the baby brother was holding the crown, he stepped up to the youngest prince and then put the crown on the prince, because they have like these whole rules where like somebody of the same bloodline has to like crown you. And because the baby brother had like royal blood in him, he like put the crown on the youngest prince, and then now the youngest prince is the king. I was like, oh my god, I didn't see that coming. Oh my god. So, and then finally the spies came up with a name for her, and they named her the Queen. This was fucking crazy. I can't believe, I don't know if they meant queen as in they know something's up between the youngest prince and her, or if she's just like, queen. I can't. I feel like this book, the ending was good enough that I don't have to keep reading the rest of the series, but I know there's another book and I actually have it. So I don't know, because like the first 3/4 of the book I really did not like. It was like a little bit too slow for me, but the last quarter was action-packed and I loved every second of it. One of the first things I did was actually look at what it looked like under the dust jacket, and I realized I never actually looked. Like, look how pretty this is. Looks so good. There's nothing on the back, but wow.